Hi everyone, Blue Star Saber here once again to do another, movie review. This time, Zootopia 2 or Zootropolis 2 here in the UK. I don't know why they called it Zootropolis in the UK, but it is what it is. So, yeah. So, I saw this movie basically yesterday. I would have done a review that day, but I ran out of time and it was getting a bit too late. And I figured, you know what? I want to go to bed and all that stuff. So I decided to decide to review it for tomorrow. But yeah, let's see. So which I'm now doing. So yeah, basically this movie is about the fourth or fifth sequel movie I can recall for a Disney animated movie. I know there was Rescue Rangers had 1 year. Rescue Rangers had one. The one with the two mice had one years back, but that bombed in the box office, and afterwards Disney did not do sequels for a long time. And of course, all these popular 3D animated films came along, and Disney decided to do them, particularly with Frozen 2, which of course made them a lot of cash, if you will. And then of course after that, there's also Ralph Breaks the Internet, which I think was successful, but critically was a bit more mixed. Then after a bunch of Disney movies like Raya the Last Dragon, Wish, and Strange New World, I think it was, they all sort of bombed. So, and as Disney had a bit of a troubling year of 2023, arguably I think their worst year in films, which was a shame because that was their 100-year anniversary. They basically moved on to doing sequels pretty much like Moana 2, which was a financial success, but it was also, of course, a bit of a mixed response given the fact that it was basically a mini-series shoved into a movie. So, yeah, granted, I believe it was announced that Zootopia would be getting a sequel film, which arguably, I think people were kind of expecting this at some point, though granted, by the time of it was announced, it feels like, okay, Disney's being a bit desperate, so that was the case. But nevertheless, I always had a feeling that, given the fact that they had this world of Zootopia or Zootropolis 2 is basically this world, big city with all these different animal things, you could do a lot with that. And apparently there was, of course, this mini-series called Zootopia or Zootropolis Plus on Disney Plus, which I've yet to see, but it did show the sort of lives of many of the side characters around Zootropolis, if you will. Some that you see in sort of the side characters in the movies. I think you even get the names of some of Judy's many rabbit siblings, but yeah, there's one of them. But that was the case there. But yeah. So that's just basically what I know about the film, I suppose, the history of the production, and there we go. I suppose I should get on to the actual movie, which, with the marketing emphasizing on this snake character, if you will, as you can see in my sort of avatar. So yeah. So basically, the film follows up with the little events of a week after the first film, which I will admit is a pretty short time. I figured, and I suppose a week after the first film. Now, granted, of course, there was probably some fair amount of time, I think, with the first film's big case being solved, given the fact that more just a week after, I think Nick joined the police. So, yeah. There, but let's get a recap of how they stopped, the previous sheep mare. I've forgotten her name. What was her name again? Trying to recall. What was her name? I've forgotten her name. God, I'm terrible with names. To be fair, the sheep mare basically, as we recall. Oh wait, hold on, I can find it at the end of the. Let's see. No. But anyway, Fritzy should probably not stall. But yeah, basically, the defense of the last film stopping the previous mare, the sheep, Fritzy, who tried to set predators and former predators and like prey animals against each other, because turns out the predator animals were actually more of a minority compared to like the first film, if you will. So yeah. Oh yeah, Don Bellwether. That's who it was. So but yeah. So Nick is now in the police force, and you see like their police chief. What's his name? Let's see his name. I think it was Chief Bongo, with a bunch of police side characters that you see. These Zebra Bros, this Warthog duo. One of them I think is a captain. I think this Hippo duo, and was there another one? I can't recall, but them going on an investigator to stop this anteater crook. But with Nick and Judy supposed to be rookies on the side, but they've already gone to try and investigate it, which you get that leopard character. What is his name again? I think it was... Nope, that's the mayor. Let's see, Mr. No. Let's see. I've forgotten his name. What was the name of the leopard? Zootopia leopard. I'm gonna search this up quickly. Leopard cop. Clawhauser. So yeah, Clawhauser tells basically Chief Bungalow that they're on the case. They arrive, which we see them there with like Nick's former partner, who's pretending to be their baby, as they're trying to pretend to be a married couple, if you will, trying to like sneak in. But Chief Bungalow calls, breaking the cover. They chase the anteater, which causes some injury for like the other police officers, and destroys, I think, a statue of one of the founders of Zootopia as the new mayor, this sort of horse guy who is being voiced by let me just find his name. Oh yeah, Patrick Waterbone, who has not voiced a character since Crunk for Disney, who you all may remember as Joe Swanson from Family Guy. So yeah, who also sort of celebrated Judy and Nick's victory last time. But yeah, but the Zebra Bros catch the crook, and Chief Bongo basically scolds Judy and Nick for like their antics. But of course, given the fact that he's developed over liking Judy from the last film, tries to be nice to her, saying that Retzi points out, if you don't make this work, you could cause problem for future bunnies trying to become police officers. And also that you could end up having your partner, that you'd have no choice but split you and your partner up in the future, which gets them into like the sort of police counseling thing, which this little mouse thing there. I should mention that when Judy looks for the catering van of like they're chasing the anteater, there's a bit of a snake scares, which she tries to persuade, but that doesn't work. Let's see. They do the counseling thing. You can see the tension between Judy and Nick disagreeing. Eventually, she tries to persuade Nick to take this a bit more seriously, just because everyone's sort of mocking them. But of course, Nick is just want to take things slow. Eventually, when Judy finds time to like herself, getting a call from her parents and all that stuff, and listening to this podcast from this, I believe, Beaver about snakes not being seen for the last 100 years after apparently one of them bit and killed a tortoise. And then reptiles are banned from Zootopia, or Zootropolis, if you will. As a result, and there's like an anniversary of like this book that's being released, as the book had something to be related to regards to the snakes and all that. Judy realizes that the snakes might try to steal it again, persuades her partner Nick to try and go into cognito disguise as they dress up as like guests in the hotel thing. They sneak in. Unfortunately, Chief Bungalow's there. But during the whole During that infiltration, Judy ends up befriending someone called Porbert, who was the youngest son of the Linux family. Nick gets caught by Chief Bungalow, but alerts Judy to a snake that's about to try and steal the thing. It's trying to steal the book. The snake does, while killing the head of this Linux family. Judy is in hot pursuit, tries to stop him, but the snake explains that snakes have been badly framed, and it looks like Judy's believing him, but, well, Nick knocks the snake out. And this is when the Linux family reveal their true colors, ordering the snake to be killed, but Judy refuses. As a result, due to a bit of a scuffle, Chief Bongo gets hit by the snake's venom by accident, and the rest of the police are convinced by the Linux family that Judy and Nick are conspiring with Snake to steal the book and killing the snake. As a result, they become wanted fugitives, but they are saved by Mr. Big, who was a guest at the party, where we see that he's now in co-partnership with the business with his daughter, and their granddaughter Judith has been born, and all that stuff is now seems to be already become quite the kid after a week. So I'm wondering how much time passed when Nick became Nick trained to be a cop or something. But I'm curious how that works in the timeline. But yeah. But you do get adorable moments where both Mr. Big, his daughter, force Nick to kiss the ring, and then not to comment about who she's grown up so fast after talking about getting shoes for Weasington, which I assume that must be some sort of mafia thing. They offer them to try and help out, but Judy does not want to leave the city and wants to clear names and find the snake, which Mr. Big gives some helpful advice of where to go to the outskirts of the thing, where they meet up with that beaver who did the podcast. I think the name of the character is... Hold on, what was her name? Let's see. Oh, yeah. Paulbert Luxley. Nibbles Mapplestick, a beaver with a conspiracy podcast thing. Let's see. Nick is a bit reluctant, but Judy manages to persuade him to come along. They end up, going to the lower bits of Zootopia, where... Basically, it's many of the aquatic animals there, where you get a little continuation of the sort of nudist joke, where only not like any nudist, not everyone's completely naked, but you can't. It's the only place where you don't have to wear pants. Which of course, Judy is of course G Hops. He's always been a bit oh god with the whole naked thing from the last film. So yeah. You get a few funny jokes of Nick accidentally getting in trouble for sea lion that causes them to be chased, to rat them out to the police later. That's in pursuit of them. And they end up going to where all the lizards are hiding in this area, where this one, I forgot what the name of him is, but this walking lizard. Let's see, who is, what's his name? Let's see, they consult a basilisk named Juices. Granted, I think it looks like it sounds like Jesus from where I'm reading it, but yeah, they agrees to help them with some information about the snakes and where to find them. But the police arrive. Let's see, and they end up having to flee. They manage to track down the snake a bit, but Nick has had to try and save them after they're getting too nearly suffocating from a water tube. And this is where you get a bit more conflict when a bunch of goats show them where there's this large snake's head, where they end up breaking their pen. During the course of this film, you've got the horse mare being persuaded by the Linux family to try and pursue them because, well, let's see, he seems to be the one that's behind his election of mayor. As a result, and Nick and Judy argue about the whole thing. They accidentally break the pen, that cat pen from the first film with the recording, as Judy gave that as a gift for Nick when he graduated from the police academy. As a result, that causes a bit more tension. Then let's see, Judy investigates, learns more about the snakes and their involvement in Zootropolis, it seems. Where Nick notices the police, tries to persuade Judy to bail, revealing that he doesn't necessarily care about, let's see, the case, which causes them to Judy to just say that they're just too different and seemingly admitting that they can't really be partners, which seems to break Nick's heart, if you will. And then we get the police arriving. Nick gets captured, but Judy escapes thanks to the snake. And turns out that the snake is allied with let's see can I remember his name? Let's see, what was his? Let's see, Lennox, the younger one. What was his name? Parbert, who seemingly is allying with the snake, who's called Gary the Snake, which is a bit of a joke that his name is just Snake. So, they seemingly, Gary the Snake tried to contact the family about being, let's see, them being a missing, details about what happened, but Parbert dealing with the mail, ends up contacting, and then they learn that his family sort of framed the snakes for the poison. They actually, it was a snake that actually created the weather machine, because the Luxon family were credited for that. But nope, it was actually the snakes. But they framed the snakes for the murder. And as the tortoise actually spotted Lennox's ancestor, I think was it Ebenezer or something, Betsy faking a deed that he's the one that came up with the weather machine when it was actually the snakes that did it. As a result, kicking them all out, and the snake wants to use this as proof that their family are the actual founders, and that and actually hopefully return them to their home, if you will. They sort of crash in the hideout there. Meanwhile, Nick is in prison, where he ends up seeing a bunch of old crooks that know him, including, of course, the former sheep mayor, who basically seems to have gone a bit crazy. And then they ends up meeting that sort of conspiracy beaver, who seemingly Nibbles, who seemed to got locked there for helping him out earlier, where he basically confessed that he actually does care for Judy and doesn't really want to lose her, and doesn't think that she's the one thing important to him right now, and doesn't really want the case to hurt her. They eventually break out with a bunch of prisoners escaping, including the former sheep mayor and Bellwether, and they go off to try and find Judy with the help of the sloth from the first film, Lightning Dash or something, who is extremely fast when driving the vehicle, ironically. So Meanwhile, Judy and the Lynx, using the heat with the snake's eyes in the book, is able to find out the location of where the snake's stronghold used to be. They head there, which is where some Mardi Gras festival is, which Porbert's phone is being tracked, as Nick had Judy destroy her phone after her parents tried to contact her, saying that the first thing they'll be doing is tracking the phone. So basically the police are in pursuit. Meanwhile, Nick persuades the leopard police officer to help them find where Judy's location is. During the whole police thing, they get help by Gazelle, who was actually singing at the party before, but also believes in Judy and Nick are innocent, helps them out, taking out the police with her tigers, particularly the Zebra Bros. They manage to get inside the sort of tower where they need to turn on the electric station, where they need to turn on the lights to try the lighthouse for where the snakes are. First, during which they do this, at first it looks like Nibbles is sort of betrayed Nick when this seems like he wasn't let in and the heat's about to go off, but he gets left in. He gets in last moment, where Nibbles had tried hard to hold the tour, and Judy, thinking this was being where some sort of twist villain was about to come in, which turns out was the case with Paul Bert Luxley. poisoning her with venom, and throwing Gary the snake in the snow, revealing that he only allied with them to try and find the deed himself so he could destroy it and gain his father's approval. Judy tries to persuade him not to be like his family, but he basically wants to be a part of his family, and this is his chance to do so. Poisons Nibbles and tries to do Nick, but the police arrive. Bit of a scuffle happens. The snake manages to warm Judy up during this bit, thanks to him slowly able to reach Judy in touch, which arguably shows how careless Luxbird is, which arguably might be more of a power friendship moment, you could say, with this Disney thing, but movie. But yeah, Nick is able to get the answer off. Poor but Luxley. They end up, saving her life. They end up Nick talking about how much he actually does care about Judy, and Judy admitting her insecurities about feeling like she needs to prove herself. They make up, and then the sort of gang of four with Judy, Nick, the Beaver Nibbles, and Gary the Snake go to try and stop poor Luxbury from destroying the deed. During the course of that, he ends up being confronted by his family, who think he's a traitor, but then he explains to them that he's actually on their side. But the mare horse is also there, which arguably a mistake on his part, but the father seems to finally at least admit that there's some worth to his son. They try to hold off a gang of heroes, but Judy and Nick are able to escape, with Nibbles and Gary trying to hold off the Lexley family, and they persuade the horse to then to be an actual hero, because he was a sort of a movie star before he was a mayor, and he does take out the Lexley family. And after a bit of a pursuit with Judith and Nick against Paul but Luxley, they managed to sort of defeat him, but you got Gary the Snake and Nibbles coming in to help save the day, I think. They eventually find the sort of house of where Gary's grandmother, who founded the weather machine, if you will. But before Luxley could be put out the fire, he gets knocked out. I can't recall if it was by Gary the Snake or by the police arriving. But nevertheless, our heroes are cleared of their crimes, and the Luxley's family is in disgrace, put to jail, and the snakes and reptiles are all allowed back in Zootropolis. And I forgot to mention this. It seems like the land where they were hiding along with the other aquatic animals was apparently going to be towed down, if you will. But no, that place has now been saved. The snakes arrive back home, including Gary's family. And Judy and Nick return, if you will. And Nick reveals that he's managed to fix the pen. And also the police chief has recovered from the poison. All sort of right with the world. Though Judy points out that after a bit of recording I Love You from Nick, not the sort of romantic love, I think, but I'll get to that a bit later. But talking about how he cares about his partner. But after Judy points out that Nick allowed 200 criminals to escape. So the next case is to try and capture all the criminals, starting with, of course, Bellwether's trying to get out of the Zootopia. But they end up, pursuing her and seemingly capturing her. At least it ends on a cliffhanger on that. Of course, you get another dancing, music scene with Gazelle with the credits, and it's the Mardi Gras thing they do before. And there's a post-credit scene of Judy telling her neighbors to calm down from the first movie, and she's replaying Nick's words at the end of the film. And a feather lands down, implying that there's going to be a third Zootropolis film, with birds being the main subject of that film. So yeah. Overall, I guess my thoughts on the movie. I will admit, I think from what I'm seeing, many people are saying this movie is not as in your face with its themes about tolerance and prejudice as the last one, but you can still see it there. Particularly about, the whole reptiles being wrongly accused of a crime and being kicked out of the land and being forced to relocate, and also how it seems like greedy business owners and all that stuff trying to like take over, like move land and kicking out, residents of their lands, if you will. There's clearly a bit of social commentary in that, and I think it sort of works. And I think it's, well, maybe not be as in your face as the first one. Now, granted, I think there's some people debating on whether or not how well that message does. I do think it works well with this one, with the snakes and all that stuff being framed, and actually being the ones that actually help contribute to like how Zootropolis was able to become like the environment where every animal could live there, if you will. So I thought that was basically well done. I thought the music at the end, post credits was great, but I don't think it'll probably be as iconic as "Try Everything." Granted, because I can't really remember the name. So there, I do like how for this film, instead of like dealing with Judy and Nick's with like the whole prejudice with fox and predators and prey, it's more of like their clashing of partners, which you probably would want to do a film about that, where Nick's laid back attitude and Judy's serious on the job kind of thing so you would expect a clash, and you do see it throughout the film where Judy is the one that pushes them to try and do the case even when they shouldn't do so, and Nick just wanting to bail on it. You can see that sort of conflict there, but you can also see why they actually want to still be like partners in the end, with Nick being like Judy's like arguably his first true real friend, if you will, and wants to be a part of the pack, wants to keep her a part of his pack, if you will. Well, Judy feels like Nick is probably one of the first person to actually believe in him when like, especially in the first film, even though it took a while, because of like how she feels like she needs to keep proving herself all the time. So I do like how the film basically deals with that sort of like a relationship, if you will. Now, granted, I don't think it's going to be these two are going to be romantic. I mean, let's see. I don't, as far as I can tell, they've never really done. I don't know whether or not animals from different species in Zootropolis or Zootopia, let's see, can get mad and all that stuff. I know there's just like this strange comic where Judy gets an abortion from their child and all that stuff, which that's kind of dark. Which I think, let's see, some make a joke about how that might have been referenced in the movie, but let's see. But as far as I can tell, that comic is not canon and all that stuff. There's no way Disney would probably do something that heavy subject with that, but granted, I suppose the whole them pretending to be parents thing might be a bit of a nod to that. Let's see. But yeah, so and their sort of get up of that. So I thought that was good. Granted, I think there's a bunch of teasers like they're pretending to be a couple at the beginning. And of course, I guess when you got like the whole going in together as this fancy dress duo, if you will, where I think Nick talks about how nice the dress is, but then ruins it with the ears. But I don't know. If you see Nick and Judy, I guess more power to you. But I think I prefer these two to be just like sort of like the sort of friendship they are having, if you will. I think that's more of my preference with the two. So I do like that. I think all of the side characters from the first film, granted, they don't get as much screen time as they do in the first film, but I think that's fine because you obviously want to build up more of the new characters. I do want to admit I was a bit surprised that Bellwether got a bit of a cameo. In fact, I think nearly just about every character except J.K. Simmons' Mayor Lion character basically returned in this film. Granted, they let's see. Of course, more have got like a few scenes. For example, Chief Bungalow is more, of course, at the beginning. Arguably, I think he was taken out of the film because if they're being chased by the police, yeah, I think it would make more. It wouldn't make. I think they didn't want to make it so that Chief Bungalow would suspect them of being criminals and all that stuff because, let's see, he went for that character arc of trusting Judy and all that stuff. So, I think they basically did the smart thing of like taking him out. Of course, having him at the beginning of the scene being setting up the main conflict between the two of like let's see, not wanting them their antics to cause problems, and then telling Judy that also like you gotta try and make this work. Otherwise, think of how it might affect other police bunnies trying to become police officers and all that stuff. So I think that worked in its favor. So yeah, I think that went well. And of course, that funny moment where let's see, he sees Nick at the party. It looks like okay, he's gonna actually put Nick and Judy in trouble. Of course, gets taken out. So I think that makes sense, and I think it makes sense that you do a bunch of new police characters. I do like how they did a few more actual proper duos, like with the two hippos. Granted, let's see, they were the least interesting, but you've got like the warthogs and the zebra bros. The zebra bros being a bit more funny with about how they like dude kind of thing. And I do like the joke they had the same name at the end of the film. But having these sort of like police duos being and I think there's like these goat ones as well that were able to climb up. But I think it was nice that you got a bit of these ones are a bit more distinct than the police one. Let's see the background police characters from the first film because, well, let's see, they're going to be in pursuit of like Judy and Nick, which I will admit, them being framed for like trying to stab Bungalow. I was wondering why the police was chasing them in the trailers, but now that makes sense to me. So yeah, I thought that was fine. Let's see. I do like that fact that instead of this time, Judy is trying to like try and solve this case. Otherwise, she loses her job. This time, she's like now wanted by the police by a misunderstanding and being framed for like attempted murder, if you will, and thievery of the book. So I will say that. So I do like how that sort of like is a good way of raising the stakes where. Last time she could lose her job. This time she's now on the run from her former colleagues. So I think that works well for the film in terms of the stakes. Let's see. I do like how the leopard is basically the leopard police guy. Hold on, what is his name? Clawhauser is basically. Just there at the beginning and then there at the end to try and help Nick, even though he's reluctant because they're fugitives, but it does seem like he believes them, at least to be good people. So, yeah, him being like the sort of one ally in the police. Because I also like how she believed in both Judy and Nick, probably because they managed to solve like the last crisis and all that stuff. I do find it funny how they and the Tiger Dancers seem to have a history with the Zebra Bros. So that was funny. The couples therapy, the partner therapy thing was quite hilarious, particularly with the elephant and the mouse. And with that one cop trying to strangle his partner when he smiles or something. But yeah, that was kind of funny. But yeah, I do like how you got to see like Judy's parents at the beginning of trying to call about, let's see, whenever they see the news and all that stuff, and you have like the grandma saying, "Come and make some babies" and all that, which you can see how Judy's embarrassed, which probably more of like shit teasers, but yeah. I'm curious to see if they would ever give her, let's see, male bunny boyfriend and see how, if Nick would end up being the third wheel or something, but that could be a potential plot line, I guess, but who knows? I could be wrong on that, but I think Judy is more of just going to be focusing on her police career. I do like how Mr. Big and is now in partnership with his daughter to run the family business, but also like trying to be a grandfather. Though granted, I'm wondering how fast time has flown, because are they doing like regular years or animal years with like how these animal characters age? That's my own question, but I do like how they seem to still enjoy Judy, but with Nick, they lose their temper, probably because they're still mad about the skunk butt to rug, if you will. So I do like that. And yeah, Bellwether just being like a crazy criminal who just rampages on her court, makes her entire cell out of wool, her own wool and all that stuff. So I thought that worked. I think all the cameos of the characters from the old film and their roles, it worked fine. I suppose I should get on to the new characters. I guess Nick's old partner just being the baby at the beginning of the film. I think that works. I will admit, I do like seeing the male horse thing. I thought it looked like he was going to be more of a recurring antagonist, which in some case he was sort of pressured into that. But then, of course, is persuaded to be a hero in the end. So I think that was a nice little minor character development for like a one-side character who's who seems a bit like a goofball. But it's nice to see Patrick Warburton back in a sort of Disney film after like years of not being able to play Kronk, I guess. So yeah. Oh yeah, let's see. I should probably have mentioned that. Of course, there's all those Disney direct video sequels, but I'm referring to more cinematic movie ones earlier. But yeah. Let's see. I guess the highlight. Let's see. You've got like, of course, the reptile characters, which is interesting how this film explores with the reptiles and there being a sort of like a marginalized group that were kicked out. Particularly like that Jesus one who like tricks like Judy and Nick to eat the worms, which like that was funny. But I do like how he helps them just because he was hoping that it'll like it's not only save their like habitat, but they'll allow reptiles to be allowed in all the areas, which does happen in the end. So yeah, I do like that character, even though he was sort of minor. One character I was a little bit surprised is like Nibbles, who there's of course like a little joke about conspiracy things, which to be fair, I think most conspiracies are kind of out there, but this one seems to be like the more correct one for the most part, except maybe her prejudice on koalas. But I do like how she helps Nick and Judy find the reptiles, and then she helps Nick sort out his feelings with like Judy and all that stuff, admit that he does care. I do like how they do a bit of a twist of like, oh, is Nibbles going to be like the villain? But no, with the whole thing, because that kind of fooled me for like a second, for like a minute. But it's like, no way, they're not really going to do that. Nibbles is not going to be the bad guy. But no, that's not the case. And granted, it seems like this character's supposed to be a bit more minor, but end up becoming a bit more major. I don't remember. Granted, I just thought it like she'd just be helping with that walrus that she has that sort of hey boo 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 beep that language with. Then ends up being their transport to the reptiles, which I suppose I forgot to mention. There was also another ship tease of them like, oh, it's your anniversary, so it plays an anniversary song there. So you got that. Yeah. So I thought, I was a bit surprised how much Nibbles played along. I'll admit, if there's one character I feel was a bit disappointing, is Gary the Snake, which it's fine. The trailer basically showed that, okay, the snake is going to be a bit of a it's a good guy character who like Nick and Judy are allying with. But I'll admit, it takes a while before you actually get to see this character. He's kind of absent from certain parts of the film. I figured, let's see, Garrett, he was going to be with Judy and Nick for like most of the film, but nope, it's more of like, I think, halfway, which I wonder if that might, kind of, for me, feels like neglects the sort of like the sort of development where Gary the Snake feels like Judy is his best mammal friend or something, but I do think that the scenes that he does play, and I think he does fine. I just wish there was more of him, if you will. Because there was this like thing with Nick was like seemed to be terrified of reptiles and snakes, but that sort of dropped, and you think there might have been some way to add some sort of like think more about like the whole prejudice and discrimination thing, because this time it's Nick that has the sort of fears of a predator, if you will. So but yeah, that seems like what would be the case there. You'd think that would be how they do it, but nope. But I guess that's what happens when Nick had to be taken away. But I think I suppose they decide that it's best to be more focused on Nick and Judy's dynamic between those two. So yeah, but I do like how it seems like he partnered up with like his own sort of mammal friend, only to be double crossed. But he does have the friends with like Judy and all that stuff. And I do like it. His goal is a noble one, trying to allow his family to return back to Zootopia, where they're the ones that actually found it. But anyway, supposed to be the villains, I guess, of this film, the Lennox family. Let's see, the father and the two elder siblings are, well, they're just minor characters, really, especially the two siblings. It's more like background thing, but the father quickly shows to be quite the villain, just like, let's see, it doesn't look like they're going to do the plot twist at all with this film. It's like, he's like the bad guy. He's persuading the police to go in pursuit, threatening them to like relocate and destroy sort of lands, if you will. Once like let's see people taken out permanently, standard like what you expect as a bad guy, family head villain. But I think what really works for me is like the Parsley Lennox let's see villain. Which at first you think he's the nice one and seemingly being an ally. Granted, you do. I did wonder why on earth he wants to help, let's see, the snakes as it would destroy his family. But turns out he plays such a good role of being like the good guy that you don't necessarily see him being actually a bad guy twist coming, at least. At least I didn't. Granted, I think some people might think, nah, this guy's going to be a bad guy. I mean, there's definitely some hints that you think, oh, he left the phone behind, maybe. He has this phone tracker. He isn't giving us reasons why he's helping the snake clear his family's name as it would destroy his. Stuff like that. But I do like that the reason why he's doing it is that he's treated as the outcast and he wants to fit in with his family, showing that he's got a bit of a Brettsy complex of trying to please his father. I think this adds a bit more depth to him. In fact, arguably, I think he's better than Bellwether as the sort of twist villain because it's like, let's see, Bellwether doesn't really look all that intimidating as a villain, but Lennox, due to being his animal, can go from like goofy and menacing as like his messed up Wixsters to be more menacing when he releases his claws, if you will. So you can have him work as more of the goofy, but also more of a bad guy as he gets more desperate towards the end and look a bit more menacing towards that. So I think it works. And I also like his more of motivation of trying to please his father, which for a moment he seems to do, but also sort of screws up a little bit because the mare horse is there. And also, as we've seen in the post-credit scenes, that he seems to like, it seems to still annoy his father when he's trying to bond with him now that they're in prison and all that stuff. Though granted, he also looks like he's going to be beaten up by other inmates. So you've got that. So, but yeah, I definitely say in terms of the villains, I'd say it's probably a lot better than Bellwether, who, let's see, just sort of like doesn't really feel like all that intimidating as a villain and feels like the motivation could have been explored a bit more of like wanting to turn predators and prey against each other. But yeah, I just know that most people found the twist villain from the first film to be weaker. I definitely say this one, the villain is definitely stronger as a villain. So yeah. Overall, if I had to give this movie a score, I think I would give it either an 8 or 9 out of 10 or somewhere in between. It's a fun movie. If you have kids, they're going to enjoy it. If you're just a general fan of Disney movies, I think you enjoy this. I think, in fact, this would probably be, regardless, probably one of the better Disney films over the last, in terms of the animated ones over the years. And definitely, probably the better of the Disney animation studios sequels compared to like Pixar, which usually had the more better sequels, really, with like Toy Story 2 and Toy Story 3, stuff like that. But yeah, I can definitely see this Zootropolis 2 being like everyone's favorite sequel to a Disney movie. So yeah, whether or not it's better than the first one, I think that would depend on the person. I think most people still feel like the first one's better, but who knows? But yeah, overall, that's my thoughts on the movie. I enjoyed it. I think it's a good follow-up to the one. And it's clear that they've got a third one planned with like this time with birds, with the giving the feather at the end of the post-credit scene. So yeah. Anyway, that's all my thoughts now. I hope that everyone who listens to this Brettsy review enjoys what I had to say. I'll see you all next time when I try and review the next One Piece chapter, which I'm a bit behind. But for now, I'm Blue Star Saber, signing off. Thank you, everyone, and goodbye for now.